You would obviously assist with any of the logistics.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, or maybe good evening or good morning, depending where you're joining us from. You are looking at a live view of launch site 31/6 at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, where we are now 48 minutes, 30 seconds, and counting away from liftoff of a Soyuz 2.1A rocket heading to the International Space Station on a Progress spacecraft with a cargo resupply for the International Space Station. If it's your first time here, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the founder and host here at the Launchpad, and here at TLP, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow because we believe that space is better together, and we're glad to have you here. Take a moment, engage that like button, let us know in the chat where you're watching from, and if you haven't yet, take a moment, share out the stream as well as we count down just over 3/4 of an hour until liftoff of a Soyuz craft here tonight. The Soyuz 2.1A rocket will be launching at a targeted time of 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time, or you can follow that countdown in the top left of your screen, heading up to the International Space Station. Now, today's launch is by Roscosmos, the Russian Federal Space Agency, but it is in partnership with NASA and the joint operations of the International Space Station. It's been a busy couple weeks or month or so at the space station with the swap of the Russian crew, then the swap of the U.S. SpaceX Crew Dragon crew. Now we've got this Progress capsule going up for cargo resupply, and next week we have an Antares taking up a Cygnus cargo craft as well. This is a live look into Roscosmos mission control. You can see them going through all their final checkouts, and it's quite rare to see people still out at the pad with 47 minutes and counting now until liftoff, but this is a normal sight to see in Russia and in Kazakhstan at the launch site here in the Baikonur Cosmodrome. We will start to see that clear out over the next 15-20 minutes or so, with full pad clear around that 15 to 20 minute mark. The next major milestone we are going to be looking for is the retraction of those two large green towers from around the spacecraft. Those are the access towers. They split apart kind of like eggshells and release the rocket there. So that's the next major milestone that we are looking for here tonight. Throughout tonight, we will be answering your questions live, so you can send those to us in the chat by taking us at the launch pad, and we'll try to answer those to the best of our ability. But we wanted to point it out. If you haven't yet, take a moment, check out the Launchpad Network, our brand new website. We'll drop a link in the chat. We've also got it pinged, and that's where you can check out today's mission briefing, where you can find out more about today's mission, the rocket, the vehicle, and everything, including the launch complex and everything there. And that is your best place to find out about future launches. The Launchpad Network. We've got our full global launch calendar up and running. Still a few tweaks to the site thanks to your guys' amazing feedback from our launch. We're making some tweaks, but we're excited for these briefings to now be available, and they're going to just keep extending and getting more detailed as we add more information to the platform over the coming weeks. But by the end of the year, it's going to be your one-stop shop for absolutely everything. Today's launch will be the 152nd launch attempt of 2022, the 8th launch by Roscosmos this year, so a very quiet year for Roscosmos, but we all know why. It'll be the 6th launch from this pad, though, this year. Of all time, though, these are the numbers I find fascinating. 6,501 launches have been conducted in all time. This is the 308th launch for Roscosmos and the 405th launch for this actual launch pad itself. So some interesting numbers there. See lots of people joining in the chat. Great to have you all here. We got Montgomery, Alabama, Lakewood, Washington, Orlando, Florida. We got New Zealand, South Texas, Central Coast of California by Vandenberg. Great to have you here. For those of you over in the Orlando Space Coast region, Falcon Heavy has made its way out to the pad, but it's missing something. It doesn't have its fairing. They're going to be lifting it up, performing a static fire test here in the next day or so, rolling it back, picking up its payload, and then rolling it out again. But if you haven't seen a Falcon Heavy, you're in luck. They're targeting launch on Halloween, and we are going to, of course, bring you full live launch coverage of the return of Falcon Heavy. 3 years since we have seen one out at the pad. Very exciting to see one back out there now. As we count down for the next little bit here, we will patch in NASA Mission Control once they do go live for their launch coverage of today. With it being a Roscosmos launch, they won't be going live for another about 20 minutes or so, but once they do, we will patch them in to get updates from within Mission Control through the translator departments there. But following today's launch, we wanted to keep you up to date, that you'll be able to follow along with our live tracker of the Progress craft, so you can see that stream go up. Once we have liftoff, we will activate that stream, and we'll have that running for the next 2 days as we track Progress on its way to the International Space Station, and then we hope you'll join us here for live coverage of final approach, capture, and docking of the Progress craft to the ISS. We got Dennis from Detroit, Trace from Pensacola, great to see you. We got Vancouver Isle watching, great to have you. South Texas, North Texas, lots of Texas in the house tonight. Great to have you all here with us. As we count down now 43 minutes, we're going to listen into some live sounds and of the launch complex as we count down. We'll continue answering your questions in the chat, so make sure you tag us at the launch pad, and make sure you take a moment and engage that like button. It really does help us out. But stay with us right here on the launch pad as we count down 42 minutes, 47 seconds, and counting until liftoff of another cargo resupply for the International Space Station from the Baikonur Cosmodrom in Kazakhstan.
Кабина обслуживания увидена в нишу стартового сооружения 10. Класс 10 принял, 5. Внимание на стартовом комплексе. Объявляется готовность к пуску 30 минут. 5. Готовность к пуску 30 минут принял, 10. Готовность к пуску 30 минут принял, 20. Готовность к пуску 30 минут принял, 30. Готовность к пуску 30 минут принял, 40. Готовность к пуску 30 минут принял, 50. Готовность к пуску 30 минут принял, 60. Готовность к пуску 30 минут принял, 70. Готовность к пуску 30 минут принял, 80. Принята готовность к пуску 30 минут, 5. 5. Провел заключительную операцию на колоннах обслуживания. Готов развести колонны обслуживания в горизонтальное положение, 10. Доклад 10 принял, 5. 10-му развести колонны обслуживания в горизонтальное положение, 5. Есть развести колонны обслуживания в горизонтальное положение, 10. Пятый готов снять страховки ФЛБ с мачты СМ-575 ВГМ, 10.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. You are looking at a live view of launch site 31/6 at the Baikonur Cosmodrom in Kazakhstan, where we are now 32 minutes, 15 seconds and counting away from launch. And you can see the large launch structure beginning to open up, releasing Soyuz, preparing for its launch attempt here in just over 30 minutes from now, launching the Progress spacecraft up to the International Space Station on a cargo resupply mission. You're listening to some live sounds from the launch complex, as well into some of the ground communications as they are going through their final checkouts at the actual launch site itself. Soon, in the next 15 minutes, we'll see that pad start to clear out and be vacated ahead of today's launch attempt. In about 10 minutes from now, we're expecting NASA to begin their live coverage, and we'll, of course, patch them in and listen into the final count through NASA Mission Control, as this is a joint launch between NASA and Russia for the continued joint operations of the International Space Station, but it is a Roscosmos Soyuz craft. If it's your first time here, though, welcome here at the launch pad. It's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together. And if you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that subscribe button so you never miss another live launch coverage, space briefing, space news update, or exclusive one-on-one interview. You can learn more about today's launch through our mission briefing. We got that pinned in the chat, but it's also in the description, or head over to tlpnetwork.com/launches and check out our global launch calendar there. That's how you can follow along with every launch happening around the world. And if we're live streaming streaming them, we will have links in those briefings as well, so you can make sure you don't miss another launch, or you can catch a replay on a recent launch that you did miss. As we continue through today's stream, take a moment, engage that like button. It really does help us out. And if you have any questions, you can send those to us in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad, and we will work on answering those live as we continue throughout today's count. Now 30 minutes, 27 seconds, and counting. But stay with us right here on the launch pad as we count down to launch of a Soyuz 2.1A rocket to the International Space Station.
Пятый, воздух коллектора системы инжекции выдан. Замечаний нет, 50-й. Захват 50-го принял, пятый. Пятый, расчет убыл район эвакуации. Прошу изучения птица связи, 40-й. Захват 40-го принял, пятый. 40-м разрешаю птица связи. Пятый, расчет эвакуирован в безопасную зону. 60-й. Доклад 60 принял, пятый. Пятый, расчет системы измерения эвакуирован в установленные места эвакуации. 70-й. Доклад 70 принял, пятый. Пятый, колонна обслуживания разведены в горизонтальное положение, 10-й. Доклад 10-го принял, 5-й. Пятый. Пожарная машина стояла отметки эвакуирована. Эвакуационный канал открытый, проверенный. На расчету эвакуированы восстановленные места. Прошу союзиться со связью 80-х. Доклад 80-го принял, 5-й. 80-м решаю идти со связи. Пятый расчет заправочного оборудования и 15-минутной готовности эвакуировал установленные места. 20-й. Доклад 20-го принял, 5-й. Пятый. Расчет системы управления. 10-минутной готовности эвакуированы установленные места. 20-й. Доклад 30-го принял. 5-й. Заключительная операция на стартовом оборудовании проведена в полном объеме. Расчет опасной зоны эвакуирован. Прошу разделить уйти со связи 10-й. Доклад 10-го принял. 10-м разрешаю идти со связи. 5-й. Расчет 50 эвакуирован с штатного расписания. 50-й. Доклад 50-го принял. 5-й. Колонн на пуском принял. 1-й. Первый. Стартовый комплекс приведен в готовность 30 минут. Кабина обслуживания введена в нишу стартового вооружения. Колонна обслуживания разведена в горизонтальное положение. Разрешите уйти со связи. 5-й. Доклад этого принял. Решаю уйти со связи. 1-й. Расчет с нулевой отметки. Под 5-минутной готовности эвакуированы установленные места. Прошу разрешения уйти со связи. 4-й. Доклад 4-го принял. Разрешаю уйти со связи. 2-й. пуску, 10 минут принял, 70. Доклады руководитель, работу принял, Первый, основные уровни драйверов системы изменения ракет-носителей стартового комплекса в норме 70. Доклад 70 принял, первый.
Now about a little under 14 minutes away from launch, and all of the preparations are still running smoothly for an on-time launch at 7:09 p.m. Central Time. If you're just joining us, you're looking live at Launch Pad 6, Site 31 at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, where a Soyuz 2.1A booster rocket stands ready to launch an unpiloted Russian resupply cargo spacecraft carrying almost 3 tons of food, fuel, and supplies to the International Space Station.
And if you're just joining us, welcome. We are just 11 minutes, 25 seconds and counting away from launch of a Soyuz 2.1 rocket from launch site 31/6 at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, heading up to the International Space Station on a cargo resupply mission with the Progress spacecraft. Today's launch is an instantaneous launch window, so any delays in the count will mean that we missed today's window and would have to try again most likely tomorrow, but everything proceeding well. Weather's looking good, the rocket's looking good. As you can see, it's well fueled up and coming alive as we enter this final bit of the countdown, now just less than 11 minutes and counting. Today's mission is being provided by the Russian Federal Space Agency, or Roscosmos, in partnership with the United States and ESA in their continued work to partner on the International Space Station and keep it fully stocked with everything that they need on board. Today's launch will be the 152nd launch of 2022, the 8th launch for Roscosmos, and the 6th launch this year from this exact pad. This is a live view inside the mission control room at Roscosmos as they go through their final countdowns and checks towards today's mission. Docking of the Progress craft going to take about 2 days. Going to occur at 10:49 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, October 27th. But following today's launch, you'll be able to track along progress as we get updates from NASA and Roscosmos through the time as we track the current ISS location and countdown towards the Progress's arrival at the International Space Station. Our live tracker will go up right immediately following liftoff, and then following launch you'll be able to check that out there. We are hearing in some mission control ground comms as well as we go through the final bit of this count. And we're going to listen back into NASA mission control as they'll have translators as we go through the final count. If you haven't yet, though, take a moment, engage that like button. It really does... He's a little loud. It does help us out. And make sure you engage that subscribe button so you never miss another live launch coverage, space briefing, or space news update. We had an exciting launch of the Launchpad Network, our brand new launch space website, full global launch calendar, astronaut database, mission briefings, shop, everything. So definitely take a moment and we'll drop a link in the chat. That is a link to today's mission briefing for this exact mission. This is just the start of what these mission briefings will have. They're going to be expanding a lot more as we roll out our rocket database, our engine database, and our launch agency and launch complex databases. So lots of information coming your way, but if you ever want to know what launches are coming up or just happen, head over to tlpnetwork.com/launches. There you can see our global launch calendar and watch live streams or replays of launches as they happen. As we're coming down now, just less than just over 8.5 minutes away from launch, we are going to be split screening between Roscosmos and NASA. So on your screen right now, you can see on the right, that's the live feed from Roscosmos. On the left is NASA. NASA's feed does have a little bit of a longer delay, so we'll kind of get to see the launch twice. So we'll be bouncing back and forth between the two, but our countdown is synced with Roscosmos themselves, so that is the official countdown until launch. Now just 8 minutes, 15 seconds, and counting. If you haven't yet, take a moment, share the stream out. It really does help us out. And let's listen back into NASA and Roscosmos mission control as we count down now 8 minutes until launch of a cargo resupply mission to the International Space Station. Stay with us.
For the telerobotically operated rendezvous system and would be prepared to operate a joystick in the unlikely event that a problem would occur with the automated docking system.
Доклад 30-го принял, первый.
The countdown will soon move into its automated phase that will include the purging of nitrogen from the first stage engines, the propellant drain back to make sure that the first stage of the Soyuz booster has the correct amount of propellant for its first 2 minutes of flight. Booster propellant tank pressurization will follow, and the ground propellant feed will be terminated. Now just about 7 minutes and 30 seconds away from launch. Still having reports that everything is running smoothly for an on-time launch today. Again, Progress will begin its 2-day 34-orbit journey to the station today, arriving on Thursday, where it would automatically dock to the Poise module on the space-facing side of the station's Russian segment, and that will be at 9:49 p.m. Central Time, 10:49 p.m. Eastern Time. Once Progress arrives to its preliminary orbit, there will be a series of critical burns of its engines. Those are known as DV burns, or delta velocity burns, basically a change in velocity that it will first automated maneuvers that will raise the Progress to match that of the International Space Station. And now just about 6 minutes until launch, the countdown proceeding on track. And again, once Progress arrives in the vicinity of the station late on Thursday evening, Sergei Prokopyev and Dmitry Patelin will be inside the Vesta module at a control panel called the Toru system, the telerobotically operated rendezvous system, and would be prepared to operate a joystick in the unlikely event that a problem would occur with the automated rendezvous system. The Progress is now in automated phase and is purging nitrogen from the first stage engines.
Есть продувка 30. Есть продувка 70. Доклады руководителя работ принял. Первый.
Now only 4 minutes away from launch, and controllers at the blockhouse in Baikonur are reporting a purge of nitrogen for the first stage. The fuel lines and the other elements of the rocket engines are purged with nitrogen to proof them by removing vapors of fuel and oxidizers. The first stage will be pressurized at about the 2-minute 45-second mark before launch. The pressurization of the first stage fuel tanks will optimize the pressure of fuel, helping the structural support of the rocket as it sits on the launch pad. Again, you're getting a live view looking now at Launch Site 31 at the Baikonur Cosmodrom in Kazakhstan. The Progress 82 vehicle running through final procedures, ready to begin its 2-day 34-orbit journey to deliver about 3 tons of cargo to the International Space Station. Coming up on the 3-minute mark before launch, everything's still running smoothly.
Есть 13. Есть 12 70.
And we've now hit the 3-minute mark, and propellant drain back will begin. We're now in the phase of pressurization of the fuel tanks. The booster tank is now being pressurized for flight. Again, that pressurization optimizes the flow of fuel and helps add structural support to the rocket.
Надув. Есть надув 70. Есть ГДР в ОК 70. Есть надув общий 30. Есть надув общий 70. Есть бросовая система измерения 70. Есть готовность 2 70. Доклады руководителя работ принял. Первый.
One minute and 19 seconds to launch, and ground propellant feed is about to be terminated. And at the ground point, the feed has the pressurization of fuel tanks will be complete, and the ground propellant feed is about to be terminated. 1 minute, we're now on internal power. The Soyuz rocket is now on internal power, and we have an auto sequence start in just about T-minus 47 seconds. Separation of the first umbilical tower.
Земля борт. Есть переход блока И на бортовое питание. Есть отрыв ШАО блока.
The launch command has been issued.
Есть отрыв холодный пневмоколонок блока И 70. Есть дополнительный мощность 20. Есть мощность 30. Доклады принял.
The engine start command has been issued. We have an engine ignition. turbo pumps are building up to flight speed. And liftoff. Liftoff of Progress 82, the next vehicle in the supply chain to the International Space Station. Good roll, pitch, and yaw. Program reported from Baikonur. First stage performance reported to be nominal. Good chamber pressure reported on the first stage. Good chamber pressure reported on the first stage. Good vehicle stabilization reported. 1 minute and 15 seconds into flight.
17.
Полет нормальный. Параметры системы управления ракетой-носителя в норме. Двигатели первой и второй ступени работают нормально.
1 minute and 40 seconds into the flight. Everything reported to be going well.
Параметры конструкции ракеты-носителя в норме.
Standing by now for first stage separation.
Тангаж, рысканье, вращение в норме.
Now with the vehicle out of view, we'll be seeing this animation, and this is from the MCC in Moscow.
Стабилизация изделия устойчивая. Параметры конструкции ракеты-носителя в норме. Двигатель второй ступени работает нормально.
Second stage engine is up and burning. This will be about a 2 minute and 39 seconds of burn.
Параметры системы управления ракетой-носителя в норме.
Flight controllers reporting everything operating nominally.
Стабилизация изделия устойчивая. Параметры конструкции ракеты-носителя в норме. Есть сброс створа головного
And the launch
двигателя.
shroud has jettisoned.
Двигатель второй ступени работает нормально.
The Soyuz booster traveling at almost 5,000 miles per hour. Again, the second stage will last until about the 4 minute and 47 second mark into flight.
Полет нормальный. Время КП 5 часов 20 минут 9 секунд 237 миллисекунд. Стабилизация изделия устойчивая.
All of the vehicle parameters reported to be nominal.
Двигатель второй ступени работает нормально. Тангаж, рысканье, вращение в норме. Параметры конструкции ракеты-носителя в норме.
Coming up on the 4 minute 30 second mark into the flight. Standing by now for second stage shutdown and second stage separation. You're now seeing the external camera on the Soyuz booster.
Есть запуск двигателя третьей ступени. Есть выключение двигателя второй ступени. Есть отделение второй ступени.
And we have second stage shutdown and separation. The third stage engine is up and running, everything looking good. Now traveling just over 9,500 miles per hour and 100 miles in altitude at the 5-minute mark into the flight. Now being propelled by the single engine of the Soyuz third stage, the engine will thrust and burn for about 4 minutes. Good third stage engine performance reported. Good third stage engine performance reported. All structure parameters still reported to be nominal. Coming up on the 6-minute mark into flight. Third stage performance continues to be solid, propelling the Progress 82 cargo craft into its preliminary orbit. You're seeing a view now from the Progress with the solar arrays where they're at the bottom of your screen. 6 minutes and 38 seconds into flight, third stage engine still burning nominally as the Progress heads towards its preliminary orbit on its journey to the International Space Station, delivering about 3 tons of cargo. About 2 minutes of powered flight remaining. Third stage performance still reported to be going well. Seven minutes and 30 seconds into flight, the Progress and the Soyuz now traveling 14,000 miles per hour, 124 miles in altitude, the trajectory flattening out, about 1 minute of powered flight remaining. Third stage performance still reported to be going nominally. Now at the 8-minute mark into flight, since the Progress lifted off, Progress now traveling almost 15,000 miles per hour and 125 miles in altitude. All structure parameters still reported to be nominal. Now standing by for third stage shutdown and spacecraft separation. Third stage shutdown confirmed and the spacecraft separation confirmed. Next step will be the deployment of the solar arrays and navigational antennas on Progress 82.
Конференция закончена.
And now getting reports from the Mission Control Center in Koryov that the solar arrays and antennas have deployed. The Progress 82 resupply spacecraft now officially in its preliminary orbit, which begins its 2-day journey to the International Space Station to deliver about 3 tons of cargo.
And there we have it. Another successful launch of a Soyuz spacecraft, beginning the journey for the Progress spacecraft to the International Space Station, carrying tons of cargo on a resupply mission. Docking now expected 2 days, 2 hours, 17 minutes and counting from now. And as we wrap up here, make sure you take a moment, engage that like button, and subscribe so you never miss another live launch coverage, space briefing, or space news update. Here's a replay of the launch. When we wrap this stream up, we're going to send you guys over to our live tracker, where we're live tracking the International Space Station with some live camera views and counting down towards docking just over 2 days from now. But for now, this is Zach from TLP Network Studios signing off. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.